Good afternoon. As Konstantin Dranch said, first you straighten your back and find a great posture before talking. So now we're going to talk about how to open a translation bureau in Ukraine. I am the founder of Com Translation Bureau. I got familiarized with translation business in 2010. I was a service sales department manager, and then I risked in 2013 to start up my own bureau. We mostly focus on our work written translation. They're 98% of our service portfolio, and we work in Ukraine locally with international company representations in Ukraine, Carlsberg, L'Oreal, Pfizer, and many other companies. In my background, I'm not a translator. I have an economic background, but I think this presentation is mostly relevant and interesting maybe to translations themselves. I think business people will not find anything new, but translators will. How to start, even when you're alone and nobody's teaching you, who can help you start this business up and make it a success. In order to not to overburden you with the presentation populated with text, I tried to put some cats into it because cats tend to make everything more beautiful. So these first slides will skim just quickly. Of course, you need to be registered as a physical entity, as a person, and as a taxpayer on group number 3 without VAT tax. When you get registered as an entrepreneur, you choose two main labor categories. So 74.30 is translation as a service, it's a state registry number, and 5819 is editing, proofreading. You can also put the notary as a service under this number, classification number. After you get registered, you receive these two registration certificates, and whenever you sign agreements with legal entities, they will ask to provide these documents. Any company who's a legal entity. Talk about the tax that me as an interpreter on the third group is the general revenue tax, 5% of all your revenues, which you have to declare, and the social payment. So it's basically a pension investment, which is also paid monthly as a fixed rate. And you also file a declaration on all these taxes. So you start an accounting number in a Ukrainian bank in hryvnia, then you can also add to this another account, a foreign currency account, and online you can start a bank account as an entrepreneur in Privatbank or Monobank or any other convenient bank for you. Stamp or no stamp. Documents go into electronic form more and more, but still there's no law in Ukraine that grants legal status to all electronic documents, so you still have to submit paper documents to some contracts and store the stamp in a convenient place if you have it. And of course, if you work still with a stamp, some agencies will require that stamp. And you can also have your personal stamp, which states your name, and the clients will see your visibility through stamps on documents, and some clients like that. And another relevant question, how to work remotely or in an office, working hours, or working from home in any convenient time. And whether you have such employees that their job description and their function in your company will allow you to let them work remotely. Or you do. Alternatively, you can use co-working space or rent space for some time to have briefings and management meetings, and then most of the time they work remotely. But if you still opt for the rental of space, you should calculate the spending. How much will you need to rent the office space? Will you need some furniture and equipment? So the minimal investment which you will require as a start. Right now, you can buy a lot of equipment second-hand, very affordable and great quality. Equipment. Equipment is your main tool, and you're not that rich yet to buy bad equipment. So we work with Linux as an operating system, reasons being security and many others. And of course, you should not forget about spending for internet connection and IT maintenance. Your main equipment and tools are computer equipment, a reliable internet connection because you need to be available 24/7, and a mobile line or mobile number to talk to customers. If you're not going to do the maintenance for your equipment alone, or if you don't have a friend or reliable colleague who will rush to your help if needed, then you should better buy these services from another company. So this is the setup. Now let's talk about how you position your company, how you present your company. First, you have to come up with a name or a brand name. You should first come up with several options in order to check them whether they are free as a domain name. If in Ukraine, then .com.com.ua is the preferred extension or domain, and you check whether they are free. rx.name.ua is a website to check the domain names availability. Plus, you need some personal identification and a logo, recognizable logo. There are free services on the internet that allow you to generate a logo, a graphical logo, in a matter of minutes. But if you want to look extra presentable to your customers, you can order a designer solution. They can give you some options to choose from, and then it's your final choice what will be the logo. And plus, they give you a mini brand book with all the files, design files, and graphical files that you can place any way you want. And of course, a website. There's no proper presence for the company without a website, and there are many free or very affordable choices to build your website on. Some of them are on the slide, but be aware that if you use your domain name for a free account, they won't let you to have your own domain name without reference to their service. So you should buy proper hosting and build your website with your domain name. And what's important about building a site? Keep it simple, because people will try and build all kinds of widgets, calculators, document processors, everything. Don't do that. Make it simple first. Make it workable so that you have proper access to site administration panels so that you can add materials. And now, the first version, the primary landing page for your website should contain Ukrainian language. That's a legal requirement. Your branded logos, your branded documents, anywhere you put your graphical image on, and commercial offer or plus a rider, or all the documents that the clients need to have. There's a comba.com website. They have many templates to choose from. To build websites from a template, starting from landing page, social network, post, design, everything. Communication channels, how customers will contact you through the website, of course. For that, you will have to have a feedback form on the website. If they have time midnight and you're asleep, they don't need to call you personally. They can write a request or leave something on the website. A phone number, other than a mobile phone number, I would rather recommend to have a landline if you still have that. That gives you more of a presence as a company, that you have a landline. Email. Email will basically be your main communication channel with your customers. It's not something you should save on or save time on or forget about. It should be always one of your primary communication channels. What's important to understand? Your email it should be tied to your domain name. If your company name is Alliance, you should have your email office.alliance at your domain name. If some company contacts us, translation 128 gmail.com, you don't want to work with them. That's your face. So your email should be tied to your domain name. There are free services. We work with Yandex, free service, but we can't work with them. Zoho is very good if you can tune it. Paid services, Gmail is quite reliable, and $6 per month. Work with this email. One more communication channel. If you send a Google request, you have a sidebar, which is your company's presentation card that Google has. That's the channel that will attract your agency to many private entities. Legal entities probably not will find you like this, but private companies, small companies will find you through Google Ads or your official Google business site. Of course, you need hired staff who you might need at the start. Customer work manager. At the start, you will be well suited having just one staffer. Translators, editors, maybe remotely, maybe staff, office workers. It's your choice. Sales manager. At the start and throughout your activity, you probably need it always. For the future, HR and SMM manager, because one of the main sources for your customer, for your leads, is social networks. So in our experience, you can find great candidates at work.ua or rabota.ua. They are paid, and there are some free resources available as well. When you hire people, you have to, of course, start paying taxes from their salary. Hired personnel. These are the payments that get added to your spending, and for convenience, you can calculate it from minimal wage and from 10,000. So be aware that you cannot pay a salary to your hired staff before you pay tax. If you have paid the taxes, then you can pay the salary. So that leads to a reasonable question about the bookkeeping for this whole operation. My recommendation is to hire an outsourced accountant. As soon as you have a staff accountant, then you have a lot of headache with maternity and sick leaves, and with our shape-shifting legislation, it can cost you much more in the long run than an outsourced accountant. So you will need a primary documentation available as agreements, accounts, and the Service Acceptance Act. So an invoice and the Service Acceptance Act for all the jobs you did should be available at your office. And you can design your agreement based on many templates available on the internet, or you can design your own. Invoices and Service Acceptance Acts. We recommend to automate all of this, because otherwise you will need to manually generate many documents per day. It's better to automate this. There are different services for document automation. The first two is software that you download, but a reliable service, it's Bittrex. In Bittrex, you can personalize your accounts and acceptance acts. You can make a database of your customers and automate invoice generation and sending. You will, of course, need the notary, because legal entities in Ukraine require a full scope of services, plus the notary verification of your translation. So my advice, if you're a translator, if you have a sufficient diploma, not a teacher but a translator, then you have this part. It's important that the notary only accept the translator diploma, not teacher diploma. And it's better for you to talk to all the notaries in your vicinity and find out their requirements, because many notaries have different requirements to the document. Some of them will accept the document, some will refuse, and some will completely refuse to verify the translations. So it's up to them individually. It's better that there are some life hacks. If you're English translator, you can put a signature on your English translation, but you will need also Italian and French. And what if you don't have them? So some life hacks. Those notaries who've been on the market for a long time, they have established contacts with translators who they hire them to come and prove the translations and confirm them. Another life hack is to find translators on language courses, because language courses sometimes offer not only courses, but where to earn a diploma. There's another service. There's a diploma that doesn't show your translation language. It just says that you're a translator without mentioning a specific language of proficiency. And the notary can accept that kind of diploma to confirm any language translation. There were cases, but I will have to find that kind of diploma and the notary who will accept this diploma, and then the confirmation will be resolved. And also, if you don't know what apostille is and legalization of documents, you will also need that in your work. Finding and hiring translators, who are your main work resources. In our experience, work.ua, rabota.ua are not very effective in Ukraine for finding and hiring translators. We prefer other resources. So Facebook group, Ukrainian translator interpreters. You can quickly find a translator interpreter for many jobs. ProZ is a second contender. At the moment, it's the biggest translator interpreter community in the world. You can find translators and interpreters by rating, by feedback, and find language specialists for any type of job. Translation rating. Hello, Konstantin. You can register on that site. You can register your translation agency and post vacant jobs. After we registered our card on the website, we get regular updates and resumes and CVs from translator interpreters offering their services, including language translators with languages rare but sometimes required in Ukraine. Work.ua, rabota.ua, as I mentioned, you can use them, but they're less effective, in my opinion. It is preferable to prepare some test task to fulfill for your candidates. We recommend to build test problems or test tasks based in different areas, different topics, for the translator to try their preferred topic, and you see their level of proficiency. The payment for testing jobs, there are many discussions going on in the translator community. That depends. If it's a novice writing to you about the candidacy without proper experience. Sometimes we provide to them, we offer them to a unpaid task of translating, let's say, a page. But if you're interested in a particular personality, as a particular translator, or if you are preparing test jobs or translation tests for tender procedure, then we pay for that. Of course, we sign the NDA with all of our translators and service provision agreement. Plus, you discuss, confirm the rules, the deadlines, preliminary or stages of translation acceptance, and maybe in some cases service provision agreement. Finding customers. Where do we find customers in for Ukrainian market? Only direct sales mostly work in our experience. If you open a top 100 companies representation office in Ukraine, you click the first link, you get the telephone number and call them. Only direct sales. The sales funnel will always work. And if we say whose doors should we knock? In big companies, it's procurement department to contact with. You can find on the LinkedIn a company of your interest, find a procurement department manager or chief and call them. And these kind of orders where translation is an option go through these departments. Additional sources for leads, context advertisement, but it's mostly targeted for private entities. We are looking for legal entities. Google My Business, social networks, and of course this is all private entities like business cards if you're interested in working with private entities. Tenders. In Prozoro and state tenders, it's not better to participate. The main criteria for candidate selection is price. And sometimes it's so absurdly minimal that we don't understand what kind of people even agree to these prices. So it's better to find tenders on customers' websites directly. And instead of so we have such customers who we attracted through tender procedure sites. And databases that you run in your company. Of course, all the orders, all the jobs you do and information about. You have the database of your customers, your suppliers, notaries, editors, everybody who does any part of work for you. A database of your leads or potential customers, a database for tax reference and tax clearance, and the financial accounting database for you to understand your income and bookkeeping. I gave you some of the management systems for translation business, but I won't go into much detail about them. On the first stage, I think Excel documents and Google Documents will be sufficient for you to have all that covered. Right now, Google Documents allow to work online from anywhere in the world and working with a team on the same file. But as soon as your staff starts expanding, and as soon as you will need higher security, you should go to a business or corporate systems, because they will allow for you to automate your business processes, expedite all the processes, and protect your data from involuntary, uncleared downloading by your employees. Yes, for account sales CRM, that's AMA CRM. It's one of the best. In conclusion, I gave you a small table of your spending on the start and the running cost. What you will need to buy for starts, and then running costs that are not tied to your income. There will be variables depending on the number of jobs you take. So they are just preliminary numbers. They are depending on your situation. But if we talk about revenues, I did not go into pricing in detail. I think you define that policy for yourself, for your company. You have to study the pricing methodology of your competitors, how the prices are done, are constituted by your suppliers, your running costs, your variable costs, your taxes. Last year, Top Periklet CEO had an interesting presentation about it. I recommend it highly. If you work actively with sales, or to put it that way, your income depends on how active you are, how ambitious you are. If you won't save your money on sales, if your service and the quality will be unmatched or good enough, you will make money. When we started back in 2016, we had some time to get started because we had an office, we had a technical support, we had a website. It didn't take much effort. First 2 months we didn't make much money, we didn't make any money, but then gradually by autumn we signed an agreement with a big international company, and after that, ever since, the profits grew. They will only depend on how active you are, how much you sell, how ambitious you are. You can make money there. And in conclusion, so what is a translation company? It's not you being a freelancer translating and just that. A bureau or agency, it means a set of services you provide. Translation, localization, natural translation or by language carriers, and apostille, designer services, everything that can be related to translation as a service. That comes as a package. If you are a translator who wants to open their own translation agency, be ready to be forced to leave translation and start just managing business processes. So if you have questions, and after 30 minutes after Vladimir, you'll be able to ask me.